Today's copywriting video is on a very specific topic: information overload versus underwhelming detail. This is the idea of finding the right balance of specifics and details in your copy. Information overload is a common phrase to describe when someone is bombarded with too much information that makes it hard to process. In copywriting, I am talking about how much product your client desires and how much he or she can handle without feeling overwhelmed or bored. Information overload is a really important aspect of copywriting because it can really hurt your ad's effectiveness and lose the client's attention. Information overload is a hard problem to define and solve because every consumer is difficult. For example, I consider my brother pretty computer savvy, so he would want to have a lot of information on the technical details of a computer before he purchases. Although I myself use a computer every workday and most weekends, I know relatively little about the technical aspects of a computer. However, I do understand that there is a value on the specifics like RAM, disk space, and a lithium-ion battery. So I call my brother before I buy. But many consumers who are not tech-savvy as well will focus less on the details and want a general overview of the product, and with the absolute critical information only. Anything more, and you make me and anyone else who doesn't frequently speak fluent HTML feel alienated and stupid. Now, you see the power of information overload. A consumer who is a victim of information overload may feel insecure or just bored by too much detail and decide against buying. It is easy to get excited about a new computer when it seems simple and user-friendly, but as soon as you throw terms like megabytes and Intel Core processor at the customer, you block that person's access to the product. Now, something that was once an inviting tool to stay in touch with relatives and read the news is a confusing futuristic device that only MIT graduates can master with a decade-long apprenticeship. At least, this is a perception many times. Such is the awesome power of information overload. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum is an equally hazardous pitfall for copywriters: underwhelming detail. This idea is the opposite of information overload. Underwhelming detail is a term to describe when a product is vaguely defined with only the most minimal information for the client. This most often occurs when the creative or marketing department has too much control and too great a fear of information overload. As we'll see, underwhelming detail can be just as dangerous to your copy as information overload. So, you would like to avoid informing a customer of too much, but you also need to give the important information. I mentioned earlier my tech-savvy brother. If he visits a website to buy a new television, he will be wanting to know whether it's a 1080p and whether the screen is optimal picture control. These are concerns that may or may not be of interest to the average TV buyer, and now you see the dilemma. Highlighting the technical aspects will drive off some consumers susceptible to information overload, while just showing how pretty the screen is and how great a DVD looks will drive away enthusiasts who are underwhelmed by the details. You'll have to carefully consider just how much detail to include and how to balance this with the basic compelling parts of the product that will interest average consumers too. There's a reason retail electronics stores don't require you to have a ton of experience in high technology. If you're too knowledgeable about electronics, you may not be able to neatly explain how a product works. When an elderly grandmother enters a store and timidly asks how the latest game system looks so real, you may unknowingly reply with condescension as you explain the inner workings of the console. So, a great salesperson who has a decent understanding of all products may be an ideal sales representative on the floor. This works great until a hardcore video game player comes in inquiring about the differences between an Xbox and an Xbox 360. The great salesperson who has only a surface knowledge may be quickly stumped and lose out on a sale to the knowledgeable gamer, who would undoubtedly buy much more than the elderly woman would in the next 20 years. The point of the electronics store scenario is that you need to strike a balance between information overload and underwhelming detail. A technique for doing this is to construct a consumer avatar. Imagine your typical customer and try to write for that person. If you're writing a copy for an easy-to-use printer, you will be catering to the non-technical crowd. The selling point of the printer is that it may not be a technological leap in the printer space, but it is a user-friendly design that anyone from 10 years old to 100 years old can use without reading a dense instruction manual. Your avatar is very broad because that's who you are appealing to. People who don't care about how many sheets it prints per minute if it means it is a simple system. So you will write based on this idea. The printer is for everyone. The details you include are basic and only included so that the customer knows that the printer can actually print and perform the simple tasks. But the focal point of your copywriting should be the ease of use and appeal to the frustrations of high-tech printers that are impossible to use. Your avatar is the person who enters a printer store and selects the least complicated printer. If he enters a store and sees an ad by one printer that reads, "The latest in printer technology," and proceeds to list every revolutionary function, he is not interested in feeling information overload. But if he sees an ad next to the printer that reads, "All printers print, but you can actually use this one," and then describes how easy it is to use and how it can be installed without problem in less than 10 minutes, then the printer is appealing to your avatar. A person who would consider the printer for everyone to be an inferior machine and then lists off all the technical problems is the other customer avatar. A person who is not likely to mind information overload, the more technical details the better. This person requires a different marketing strategy and would be more inclined to purchase the latest in printer technology because she is an expert in printers and knows that this is the best around even if it is difficult for people to use. For this product, you may even use a technical specification as a main selling point with something like, "Time is money. This printer prints at an amazing speed of 75 pages per minute with 2400 dpi maximum print resolution." You also should consider the cost of the product. A high-end product most often entails more research on the part of the consumer and more attention to detail. While you can sell a low-end bracelet with a simple picture and nice slogan, a $10,000 bracelet will likely be described in some detail such as, "This 18-karat white gold diamond bracelet has a cloth setting with premium quality color, a necessary complement to any jewelry collection." Whether you are appealing to a person's interest level of expertise, age, or wealth, you should always try to balance the amount of information in your copy to appeal to your reader without giving too much or too little detail on the product. This has been a video for the Certified Copywriting Specialist program on information overload versus underwhelming detail. Thank you once again, and this is businesstraining.com, where you can learn master's level qualifications to make more money.